Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us again. This is another of our weekly installments from our security analysis laboratory of weekly vulnerability analysis. I'm joined, as always, by Satya Gupta, our founder and CTO. Hi, Satya, how are you?
Good afternoon, Billy. Thank you. Doing well.
And today we have our usual roundup of the top 5 vulnerabilities of the week that your team has found to be noteworthy and things that they should pay attention to. But I wanted to ask you, we've done this for several weeks now. Can you tell me a little bit about your research team?
Yes, we have a very good research team. It's composed of 7 people who work with me on this. It's headed by a gentleman called Vishal Dikshit, who's our director of security research. He has lots of background in similar exercises for some brand name antivirus companies that you will probably are very familiar with. And we have a group of very avid researchers who kind of build exploits on almost like a daily basis. So, team of 5 other gentlemen who are associated with this whole process.
And I guess we'll be seeing soon, we've already built some demos, but we'll be seeing more, I guess, examples of the exploits that they've found or developed and how they work and demonstrate them live, right?
Yes, and next week onward, we'll start rolling in some demos, and I'll walk one of the exploits that we'll pick up out of that to see how we'll tear it down in more detail going forward.
Okay, great. So let's get into our weekly list.
Great. So let me share my screen here. So this week, this was a relatively quiet week. From November 2nd to November 9th, we picked up only 363 new vulnerabilities, not the modified ones, but brand new vulnerability that were being reported for the very first time. 2 of these came from WordPress plugins. A third one was from Git. A fourth one came in from an NPM package that is used very heavily. And the fifth one is a Magento, which is really an e-commerce platform that is very popular.
363 doesn't seem like a light week, but I guess it is. I know I was looking at the NVD a few days ago, and it looks like we're probably on target to be well over 30,000 this year, which is another dubious record. I can see one here that's number 28,168. So
exactly. And I say this with a little bit of tongue in cheek, because last week it was 500 and something odd number, 520 plus, which was also relatively light. But you can have weeks where there's thousands.
Sure.
So the first one is that we picked up is a plugin, something called a ER plugin, which is a very, according to the vendor, it is an easy way to share files with friends and family and work colleagues. So there's no reason to attach large files to emails and send them across. You just upload it to this section here, and then this particular tool, and then provides links to share with other people. So this is a pretty cool capability, given how we are able to sort of share a lot of media today. And so this particular plugin has a command injection vulnerability, as you can see here. You can actually send a CSV file with commands embedded inside those CSV file in spreadsheets. A command like command, and this this is a very benign kind of command, but that would actually execute in any system command essentially. And so then there's no check on these inputs, and the code simply executes. So this is a very high vulnerability, high criticality vulnerability. It was discovered by a gentleman in in the University Search Center in Iran. Public domain exploits are available here. He actually was kind enough to publish some how he exploited it. The good news here is that the Versex security platform would actually detect this attack as a command injection attack, and not only would we stop the attack, but we'd also prevent any after effects of the attack. So things like malicious processes, which is what this if left unchecked, this particular vulnerability can do so.
And I know WordPress is a problem child or continually coming up, and I've worked with it. I know that it's so popular because it's so flexible and there's so many plugins you can get. But I know a lot of people add plugins, forget about them. You know, maybe they come from vendors that aren't supported well. So caution everyone to really look carefully at what you've installed on WordPress.
Absolutely. And that, that is reinforced even more when you look at the second vulnerability that I kind of put in. That it has a score of 8.0, which is a very high number as well. This one is called an import and export users and customers WordPress plugin. And it's custom metadata can be used to from a CSV file, and again the same kind of problem, OS command can be embedded inside those. And so this particular vulnerability, of course, was also discovered by the same gentleman who discovered the previous one, and he was able to publish an exploit, which is linked in this document here. And again, the Versec security platform can, the VSP web component of our product can actually detect this as a command injection attack and prevent it from being exploited. So that's the good
can I ask, just from my own knowledge, how do you define the difference between a command injection and remote code execution?
Right. So remote code execution is, typically what you do is, in the input, from the user input, you'd actually have, let's go back to this. So in one of the fields in the spreadsheet that was uploaded, or a CSV file that got uploaded, you'd have an entry like this. So when you write up a spreadsheet, you very frequently use equal to and sum in those kind of commands, right? So if you actually buried this into one of the cells in the spreadsheet, you'd actually have the ability to execute this command without really putting any malware on the server that you're trying to execute. So you get, this would be one way. This is like a web shell that you actually could potentially put down a web shell essentially on the endpoint. But once you put down some malicious, you've exploited the vulnerability and you've actually dropped some malicious code on the other endpoint, then you can exploit it. And then at that point in time, you can run arbitrary code. And if you look at RCE, the full form of RCE is remote code execution. That means I can execute new code out there. I'm not just sending data, but I'm actually executing commands or executing some files and scripts essentially. So in this particular case, as you can see, we are executing a script, but you could also execute some malware essentially at that endpoint. So that would be the RC versus the command injection.
All right, thank you for that.
The third vulnerability I picked up is, something that is a GitLab extension that's frequently found in products like Atlassian, GitHub. So this is the large file storage. It's an extension in Git. And this particular extension has a remote code execution vulnerability. And as per this, fortunately, this was found by the folks at Git itself. It has a critical rating, 9.8 critical, and there are many public exploits available, not just one but several. And there's YouTube videos on how to be able to exploit it. That makes it really, really dangerous because anybody with low skills can also exploit it. And this particular vulnerability also not just affects Git, but also affects other components like the GitHub CLI, GitHub Desktop, Visual Studio Code, source tree, and so on. Again, the good news here is that, with the Versec security platform protecting, the server, we could actually stop it. Our VSP host component could actually prevent these malicious processes that are spawned by GitHub from being able to be run on your servers.
All right, and I guess again, Git is a hugely popular platform, and so much development code stored on there. It's certainly worrisome.
Absolutely, I think a very large, significant percentage of developers use Git as their favorite repository, and so this is a very popular and a very lethal vulnerability. The fourth vulnerability I've picked up is with a package that is very frequently used on a Node.js server. And as we know, Node.js is very heavily used to develop microservices. This particular npm makes XML requests from the browser, and it's very heavily used essentially to interact with the Node.js server from between the browser and the Node.js server. It is this particular vulnerability this particular version has a critical rating. It's 9.8, and the reason it does have that very high rating is it is not safe from a server-side request forgery vulnerability, which can cause you to be diverted. If I, as a user on my browser, could get directed to a bad website, and from there I can experience a drive-by download situation. So I can actually put any arbitrary malware and redirect to that particular location, and anybody who I send the link to will get automatically become a victim. And again, vulnerability exists for this. It's publicly available. We have kind of stored a link out here, but this is it just makes it very easy for for even unskilled attackers to be able to execute all of this stuff when there is a public domain vulnerability available here.
Okay.
And the good news again is that the Versec VSP web component can detect these server-side attacks, server-side request forgery attacks. So anybody using the Versec platform would be, of course, be protected. The fifth vulnerability I've picked up today is relates to Magento, which is a very popular e-commerce platform. It has this remote file execution inclusion problem in it. What it does is it basically the attacker can leverage a vulnerability to put unsafe file on a server, and that would result in arbitrary code from the attacker's choosing to run on that server. And what makes it especially dangerous is that it can be abused by authenticated users, and with administrative permission. So if it actually makes it a little less, it's actually a little bit easier in the sense that people with authenticated privileges and with administrative privileges are fewer than people who would be unauthenticated or do not have administrative permission. So it's a little bit better than a scenario where any arbitrary person could walk up and drop this file. It has a score of 9.1, which is critical, and it has been reported by Adobe. Fortunately, there's no public exploit available at this time. But the good news is that the Versec security platform would be able to protect it again. We'd make sure that the server does not get there are no malicious file that can actually start executing on that particular server. So we'd be able to very happily be able to pick up this vulnerability and the after effects of it. The files that would have been dropped on the server will not be able to execute. So our customers would be very safe from this. Right.
Right, and then I guess Satya, you're going to share our this week's analysis of the aggregate risk. And
yes.
Just a reminder, this is something your team has put together, which is looking at multiple factors to evaluate the total risk of each of these vulnerabilities in the real world.
Exactly. And again, as we mentioned, some of the columns are how prevalent is this particular server? Is it used by a few or is it used by a lot of people? Then, of course, attacks that happen over the network, from some remote attackers are more lethal than attacks that happen when you need access, physical access. If the attack it requires too many moving parts out there, then that just makes it very difficult for it to. Every time you add one more moving part to it, it makes it more difficult for a newbie to be able to attack it. And if it requires some higher privileges, then it requires some user action. then it makes it even more harder, because how do you persuade a human to cooperate with you? That makes it difficult to exploit and all. And if it can actually change the integrity or the availability of the system, that makes it even worse, because now you're kind of causing business disruption from your wherever it is in the world that you're located on, somebody who's could be a whole continent away. So if you look at the two WordPress plugins, as I can see here, because in the second case, they require some more elevated privileges, the overall risk score drops a little bit out here. But for Git, which is other than the fact that we were you're not able to change the scope, this is a perfect dream child kind of a vulnerability. It has a score of 9.1. As does the NPM package vulnerability, the Axios NPM package. The Magento server has, because it has privilege requirements and all, and there's no public vulnerability available out here at this moment, it has a slightly less risk. But I want to caution you that 7.3 is not, relatively speaking, it's a smaller risk, but it's on the high side. So, we shouldn't be sitting here and not worrying about any of these, because they can really upset, it actually triggers a lot of risk that you would be, as a Fortune 100 or a 500 company, you'd be actually be carrying in your portfolio.
Sure, and this is, I think, these are all high risk, the ones that you've identified, obviously, but I think this is an interesting way to really look at this across more factors than just the CVSS severity score. I think you need to consider all these things as you look at each of these.
Right. And very interestingly, this column here really is very interesting, because, it shows you how many of those high severity vulnerabilities have exploits. So we're kind of playing with fire out here, if you ignore it at your own peril, essentially.
Yeah, that one certainly is a warning flag there, because obviously if there's an exploit available, it raises everyone's knowledge and awareness, but of course, anybody can run it.
Yeah, and then in one or two cases, there's a YouTube video. So if you were not able to do the right experiment yourself, the YouTube video offers very clever, approaches on how to be able to conduct that attack. So it makes it super easy.
Maybe that's another column we should add, YouTube, available on YouTube. All right, Satya, well, thank you. Great information as always. I'll just remind the audience that we are publishing these reports weekly and individual blogs on each of these that you can search. We've been doing this for a number of weeks now, so we've got a growing library of resources here that should be useful to the community. So as always, please stay tuned for our next installment. And of course, look at our BrightTalk channel for webinars on a whole range of topics. So thank you again, Satya, and thanks everyone for joining us again.
Thank you.